What's up, guys? Chapman Brooks here, just getting my day started. Doing a little bit of reflection about what happens in the middle of the week on Holy Week. Yesterday was a day that we call Spy Wednesday. And if you can't tell by the name, it has something to do with the betrayal of Christ, where Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12 disciples who had been kind of running around with Christ for a few years, decided, it was more important for him to put a little money in the bank than to stay authentic to the call. And so, I think one of the highlights of that interaction, there are two highlights. One is that, sometimes you can be in the presence of Christ or the presence of those who are practicing Christ's call and not be transformed. And that's on you, right? I think he was influenced in a lot of ways by power, again, by money. There are a lot of different ways that he was influenced, but I think the other highlight for Spy Wednesday is in Matthew, regardless of the betrayal, Christ immediately refers to him as his friend. He says, "Do what you have to, friend." And man, if that doesn't highlight the difference between us and Christ, I don't know what does, man. Being able to look past someone's failures and still love them and still support them to the degree that Christ does is something only Christ can do. And I do believe that we can work toward that. I don't know that we can fully embody it, but I do think that we can work toward that. So Christ is handed over to the high priest. Oddly enough, well, not oddly. I don't think it's unironic at all. But at least the way the story goes is the high priest sent a bunch of people to do his dirty work for him, to avoid the fears of the crowds and to avoid looking like the bad guy, right? Keeping up optics. We're all guilty of that. We take the easy way out. But so just as the high priest did that, who is often viewed as the bad guy in this story, the disciples ran out of fear too. So it's, I think earlier this week I mentioned something about how corporate our failures are and how corporate our successes are. And this shared response to fear of rejection, fear of loss of political power, fear of poor optics, it all kind of comes together for everyone in the story, regardless of whether they're the high priest or the disciples. Again, you can be really close to Christ and still either not be transformed at all like Judas, or still have a lot of big gaps in your game like the disciples did, obviously. But Christ, showed himself to be the opposite of that. And that leads us to today, which is we call Maundy Thursday, Maundy. Maundy is it's a shortened form of the Latin word for commandment. And essentially, we just go back to the call to love, right? It's just like that response from Christ where Judas betrayed him and instead he called him friend. Oftentimes we practice the Lord's Supper on or communion or the Eucharist, whatever words you want to use to call it. We practice that on Maundy Thursday to remind ourselves of his sacrifice, and I think we're better for it. And I probably practice delivering the communion more so than a lot of my other Protestant colleagues. because I believe that we need to continue to do that until we believe it, until we understand that we are what we eat, that we are the body of Christ. So as you go through the day-to-day, be mindful of ways to love other people despite how difficult it is. Be thoughtful of the suffering that Christ took on voluntarily. When the crowds came to him the night before with swords and clubs, he told them to just put it away. Like, you could have arrested me this whole time, and you're waiting until now. Just put the stuff away, and I'll hand myself over. There's no need in anybody getting hurt. So just be aware of our failures and our propensity to fail, regardless of how close we are to God or Christ, or how close we feel we are. And be just as aware of all the abundant opportunities we have around us to love other people. You guys take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow for Good Friday.